If I asked you to imagine a bank robber, you would more than likely imagine them wearing some form of mask. From clown to pig, we've probably seen it all at this point. But in a small town in Texas, the robbers decided on a very peculiar getup. At the time the robbery occurred, it sparked the biggest manhunt in the state, and it became the most infamous crime in Texas at that time. Let's talk about it. It was Friday the 23rd of December 1972, around noon. People in the small town of Cisco were getting ready to celebrate Christmas. Excitement was in the air, and none were more excited than the children, especially a group of them that were playing on Main Street. Because that day, they saw Santa Claus himself walking past them. Well, someone dressed like him at least. The man in the costume was Marshall Ratliff. He ignored the children and walked straight towards the local bank. At this time, at least 3 banks were robbed in Texas every day. In response, the Texas Bank Association had offered a $5,000 reward to anyone that shot a bank robber during the crime. This was likely one of the main reasons why the bank robbery that day would end in a bloodbath. Ratliff told the children to go away before he entered the bank on Main Street. There, he was joined by his fellow robbers, Henry Helms, Robert Hill, and Louis David. The 4 entered the bank together, and immediately drew their weapons. The plan was clear. Ratliff would get the money while the other 3 would hold up the tellers and customers, who now became their hostages. Ratliff took the money from the tellers and then forced one of them to open the vault. All in all, Ratliff got $12,400 in cash and $150,000 in non-negotiable securities, a fortune in 1927. While Ratliff was busy collecting the money and his colleagues were busy watching the hostages, a woman entered the bank with her daughter, Miss Blasingame. The reason she even entered the bank was actually Ratliff's fault. Her daughter had insisted on going in to see Santa Claus. Despite warnings from the robbers that they would shoot her, she dragged her daughter out another door as soon as she saw what was happening. As soon as she got out into the alley, she screamed for help, which alerted the chief of police, G.E. Bradford, and most of the town citizens. Ratliff was already coming out of the vault when Hill saw someone move outside the windows, and he shot once through it, which was immediately returned. He then gave several more warning shots into the ceiling to alert the people gathering outside that they were armed. But it was already too late. Essentially, the entire small town had surrounded the bank with their own guns, including Bedford and his 2 deputies. But the robbers were not ready to give up, and they knew that there was a good chance any of the people outside would shoot them, regardless of if they gave up or not, because of the $5,000 reward. The men quickly decided on a new course of action. They gathered the 8 hostages inside the bank and forced them out in front of them as a human shield, so they could get to their car in the alley. And then, all hell broke loose. The first person that was shot was the bank president himself, Alex Spears. During this panic, most of the hostages managed to flee into the crowd of townfolks that surrounded the alley. All of them except 2 small girls, Laverne Comer and Emma Robertson. The robbers kept these 2 hostages in a final bid to stop the citizens from shooting them. Nonetheless, a shootout started. Who instigated it is not known anymore. But both Bedford and one of his deputies, Carmichael, were fatally shot in the alley and passed away soon after. Ratliff and Davis were also wounded in the shootout before they managed to get into the car. The 4 robbers and the 2 girls didn't get very far. One of their tires had been shot and they were nearly out of gas. Still, they managed to make it to the edge of the town, where they attempted to steal Woody Harris' car. But the young boy tricked them. While he pretended to willingly give them the car, he slipped the keys into his pocket before he took off. The robbers didn't notice and started to transfer the money to the other car. But the townspeople had already caught up with them. And the next robber, Hill, was also wounded. Once they noticed that they couldn't start the car, the robbers and the hostages moved back to the old car. Davis, who had been shot in the alley, was unconscious at this point, so they decided to leave him in the car that wouldn't start. What they didn't notice until later, they also left the money with him. The mob of townspeople actually temporarily gave up the chase once they found the mortally wounded David and the money. Besides the 2 police officers, 6 townspeople were shot, but to this day no one knows if they were actually shot by the robbers or if it was someone from town that shot them in the fancy. Davis didn't live through the night. The other robbers dropped the girls off several miles from the town and stole another car. It took 7 days until they were found by Sheriff Foster of Young County. In those 7 days, Texas started the biggest manhunt in the history of the state up until that point. In the following chase, all 3 men were wounded. Ratliff so severely that he couldn't keep running anymore and was apprehended. His 2 friends managed to escape for several more days until they too were caught. Even though all 3 men were starved and severely wounded, they all managed to pull through and were put on trial. Hill pleaded guilty and got sentenced to 99 years. He actually managed to escape from prison 3 times, but was caught again every time. And he actually got paroled in the mid-1940s, and according to all reports, he actually became a productive citizen. Helms wasn't that lucky. He was the one who had shot and killed the 2 police officers and was sentenced to death. He died on the electric chair in 1929. And Santa, aka Ratliff, well, at first he got the same sentence as Hill. But later the court decided that he played a role in the death of the 2 police officers, and also got sentenced to death. He appealed the sentence because no one actually saw him shoot any of the officers. When that didn't work, he decided to plead insane. Doing a transfer for a hearing into the Eastland County Jail, he attempted to escape. During this attempt, he fatally wounded Tom Jones, one of his jailers. That night, a mob of more than 1,000 people stormed the jail and dragged Ratliff outside, where they lynched him, and thus ended one of Texas' most famous bank robberies.